Ever feel like she's pulling the strings and you're the one left guessing? You're not alone. Many men get caught up in the mind games, mixed signals, and emotional roller coasters that women sometimes throw their way. It's frustrating, right? But it doesn't have to be. Today, I'm going to show you how Stoic principles can help you take control and stop her from playing games with your heart. This isn't about manipulation. It's about mastering your emotions, staying calm, and living with purpose. Stoic philosophers have taught us that when you're in control of yourself, no one can control you. In this video, we'll dive into 8 practical, no-nonsense strategies rooted in Stoicism. Simple and powerful techniques that will help you maintain your emotional balance and stop getting caught in her games. So if you're tired of the guessing and you're ready to take back control, stick around. These tips will change the way you handle relationships for good. 1. Focus on self-empowerment. If you want to stop her from playing games with your heart, it all starts with you. Stoic principles teach us that the only thing we truly control is ourselves, our thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you focus on self-empowerment, you take back the power that's been in her hands all along. Instead of reacting to her mind games, you control your narrative. This is key to mastering not just your relationships, but your life. Let me explain how this works. When a woman tests you by pulling away or acting cold, your first instinct might be to chase her, to figure out what went wrong. But Stoicism reminds us that we shouldn't react to what's outside our control. You're not responsible for her actions, but you are responsible for your response. You decide how to react, calmly, with strength, or emotionally, allowing her to manipulate your mood. Self-empowerment is about building your life around your goals, values, and purpose. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally stop caring about her manipulations. Your worth comes from your personal achievements and inner peace, not from her attention. This shift changes everything. When you focus on your personal growth, your emotional resilience, and your long-term goals, you become grounded. You're no longer the guy waiting for her text to feel validated. Say you're working on your career, health, or personal growth, and suddenly she stops responding to your texts. The typical reaction would be anxiety, right? You might think, what did I do wrong? You may feel the urge to send more messages or even confront her. But a man who understands Stoic philosophy stays calm. He knows that his value isn't defined by whether or not she texts back. He's busy working on his goals, and if she pulls away, he doesn't panic. He remains steady. This kind of calmness shows emotional control. This shift in focus does 2 things. First, it shows her that you're not easily controlled by her actions. You're in control of your emotions and reactions. Second, it makes you more attractive. Why? Because Stoicism teaches that people are drawn to those who live with purpose. When she sees that you're focused on building your life instead of chasing after her, she realizes she can't play games with you. Remember, true self-empowerment isn't about ignoring your emotions, it's about mastering them. You acknowledge how you feel, but don't let those emotions dictate your actions. By focusing on your growth, you'll naturally stop falling into her traps, and she'll either step up or step aside. Either way, you win. 2. Flip the game. Become unpredictable. If you're tired of being on the receiving end of her mind games, it's time to flip the game. One of the most effective strategies is to become less predictable. When you stop reacting to every move she makes and start focusing on your own goals, the dynamic changes entirely. Stoic principles tell us that we should not be slaves to our emotions or anyone else's actions. When you become unpredictable, you show that her actions no longer dictate your behavior. Let's break this down. Often when a woman plays hot and cold, it's to test your emotional reactions. One day she's all over you, texting, calling, making plans. The next she's distant, maybe even ghosting you. Your typical response might be confusion, frustration, or an overwhelming urge to chase her and get answers. But what if you didn't chase? What if instead you became unpredictable by focusing on your passions, goals, and personal growth? This shift is powerful because Stoicism teaches that a man should live with purpose, not be tossed around by the whims of others. When you focus on your life, whether that's advancing your career, improving your health, or working on personal projects, you show her that you have your priorities. She's no longer the center of your attention, and this forces her to reconsider her actions. Unpredictability isn't about playing hard to get or using manipulation. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't rely on external validation. If she pulls away, you don't panic. You're busy working on things that matter to you. This puts you back in control, showing her that she no longer holds the power to affect your emotional state. Instead of constantly waiting for her to text back or worrying about why she's acting distant, you take a step back. You focus on your own goals, maybe hitting the gym, working on your side business, or connecting with friends. When she sees that you're not reacting the way she expected, you've just flipped the game. Now, she's the one wondering why you're not chasing her, and the power shifts back to you. Remember, becoming unpredictable isn't about playing games yourself. It's about living your life with purpose and letting her see that you won't be controlled by her actions. This is one of the core teachings of Stoic philosophy. Control what you can and let go of the rest. 3. Mindful awareness. Spot manipulation early. One of the key ways to stop her from playing games with your heart is learning to recognize the signs early on. This requires mindful awareness, being present and fully understanding the situation without letting your emotions take over. Stoic philosophers always emphasize the importance of seeing things as they truly are, without illusions. When you can spot manipulation as it happens, you stop it from controlling you. Manipulation can often be subtle. It might come in the form of breadcrumbing, where she gives you just enough attention to keep you interested but never fully commits. Or she might use the classic hot and cold behavior, where one day she's all in and the next she's distant and unavailable. These are tests to see how much of your emotional energy she can control. Stoicism teaches us not to react impulsively to these games, but to observe them for what they are. Here's how to develop this kind of mindful awareness. First, when you feel that rush of emotion, whether it's frustration, confusion, or anxiety, pause. Take a moment to assess what's happening. Ask yourself, is she trying to provoke a reaction from me? Is this behavior consistent with someone who respects me? This kind of reflection gives you the space to think clearly before reacting. Instead of letting your emotions lead, you let logic guide your next move. When you spot manipulation early, you stop feeding into it. If she's breadcrumbing you, giving just enough to keep you interested, you don't chase after her. Instead, you recognize it for what it is and focus your energy elsewhere. Similarly, when she's hot and cold, you maintain your emotional center. You don't let her inconsistent behavior dictate your feelings. This shows her that you won't be pulled into her games. Say she suddenly cancels plans last minute for the third time. Most guys would react emotionally, either by getting upset or pleading for an explanation. But a man with mindful awareness stays calm. He recognizes the pattern and doesn't let it affect his peace. He might say something simple like, "I notice you've been canceling plans a lot. If you're not interested, that's fine, but I'm not going to keep chasing." By staying aware and grounded, you're signaling that you see the game, but you're not playing it. This level of awareness, rooted in Stoic philosophy, keeps you emotionally resilient and in control. 4. Set emotional standards, not just boundaries. It's important to set boundaries in any relationship, but if you want to stop her from playing games with your heart, you need to go a step further. It's not just about boundaries, it's about setting emotional standards. Stoic principles teach us that we must take control of how we allow others to treat us. Instead of merely reacting to poor behavior, you need to communicate how you expect to be treated emotionally. Boundaries are important, yes, but they often focus on what you won't tolerate. Emotional standards, on the other hand, focus on the positive, how you expect to feel in a healthy relationship. For example, you can set a boundary about not accepting disrespect, but it's just as important to set a standard that you expect consistency and mutual respect. When you're clear about your emotional standards, she knows upfront that you won't settle for less than what you deserve. This isn't about being controlling, it's about maintaining your self-respect and ensuring your emotional well-being. When you set emotional standards, you make it clear what you're willing to invest in the relationship and what you expect in return. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we control is ourselves, And setting standards is a reflection of that control. You're saying, this is how I choose to live, and if you want to be part of my life, this is what I expect. Let's say you've been seeing someone and she starts pulling away, or maybe she's canceling plans last minute. Instead of getting angry or chasing after her, you calmly express your standard. You might say something like, I value consistency, and I need mutual respect in a relationship. If you're not interested in making plans work, that's fine, but I'm not going to keep dealing with this back and forth. By doing this, you're not trying to change her. You're simply communicating how you expect to be treated. If she respects that, she'll step up. If not, she'll likely fall away. And that's fine because your emotional standards are protecting your peace. Setting emotional standards also strengthens your self-worth. You're no longer caught up in her games because you've made it clear that your emotional well-being is a priority. Living by Stoic philosophy, you protect yourself from manipulation and ensure that your relationships are built on respect and understanding. 5. Redefine masculine emotional control. Emotional control is one of the cornerstones of Stoicism and a key to stopping her from playing games with your heart. But here's the thing. Emotional control doesn't mean bottling everything up or ignoring how you feel. It's about mastering your emotions, not letting them dictate your actions. This is the difference between reacting emotionally and responding with intention. When a woman tries to provoke you, whether by flirting with someone else, canceling plans, or bringing up her ex, the natural reaction might be frustration, jealousy, or anger. But Stoic principles teach that reacting to these emotions only gives her power. If she can make you lose your cool, she's the one in control. The goal is to remain calm, steady, and unshaken, no matter what she does. This is true emotional control, and it's incredibly attractive. Imagine a scenario where she's flirting with another guy in front of you. Most men would either get angry or try to compete for her attention. But a man who practices Stoicism doesn't engage. He stays calm and indifferent because he knows his worth. He doesn't feel the need to prove himself or react emotionally. By staying composed, he flips the situation. Instead of him chasing her validation, she starts wondering why he's not reacting. This makes her reconsider her actions. Emotional control is also about setting the tone for how you want to feel in a relationship. Instead of allowing her to dictate your emotions, you create your emotional stability. Stoic philosophers always emphasize the importance of controlling what's within our power: our thoughts, our reactions, and our emotions. When you master this, nothing she does can push you off balance. You become the calm in the storm, the steady force in the relationship. Another example is when she brings up her ex in conversation, perhaps to provoke jealousy. Most men would react with insecurity or try to change the topic. But you can simply acknowledge it without letting it affect you. A calm response like, "That's cool, I'm sure he was a great guy," shows that you're unshaken and not playing into her game. In the end, true emotional control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about understanding your emotions, owning them, and responding with strength. This kind of control doesn't just stop her from playing games, it shifts the entire dynamic in your favor. 6. Harness purpose-driven living. One of the most powerful ways to stop her from playing games with your heart is to focus on living with purpose. Stoic philosophy teaches that a life driven by purpose creates emotional stability. And when you're working toward meaningful goals, petty games lose their power over you. The more you invest in your growth, the less affected you'll be by her behavior. When you're living with purpose, your energy is spent building something that matters, whether it's your career, health, or personal development. You're no longer dependent on her attention to feel validated. Instead of waiting around for her texts or reacting emotionally to her mixed signals, you're too busy working on the things that fulfill you. This doesn't mean you stop caring about her, but it shifts the focus back to where it belongs, on your growth and success. Let's say you've been seeing someone for a few weeks, and she suddenly starts pulling away or becoming less responsive. Most guys would panic, wondering what went wrong, and start chasing her even harder. But a man who understands Stoicism doesn't do this. He knows that his life isn't defined by her actions. He's too focused on achieving his goals, building his career, and working on his projects to get caught up in her drama. Purpose-driven living creates a natural emotional detachment from her games, because you know that your value doesn't come from her validation. When you're actively pursuing your purpose, your sense of worth is tied to what you're building, not whether or not she's paying attention. This mindset is incredibly attractive because it shows that you're a man on a mission, not someone who's emotionally swayed by others. If she starts to play games by pulling away, you don't react with anxiety or overthinking. Instead, you keep focusing on what matters most to you. You don't get caught up in her roller coaster because you're too busy driving your own. This kind of emotional independence is not only powerful, but it also shifts the balance in your favor. Living with purpose makes you more resilient, more confident, and more focused. And when she sees that you're not easily shaken, she'll realize that her games no longer affect you. That's the power of Stoic principles applied to everyday life. 7. Master the art of emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is a key skill to stop her from playing games with your heart. Life and relationships are full of ups and downs, but Stoic philosophy teaches us how to remain steady regardless of external circumstances. Emotional resilience is about bouncing back quickly from setbacks, handling difficult situations with calm, and not allowing anyone to manipulate how you feel. When you're emotionally resilient, you're not easily swayed by her mood swings, ghosting, or mind games. Instead, you remain grounded and in control of your emotions. This kind of emotional stability not only protects you from being hurt, but also makes you incredibly attractive because it shows strength and maturity. Here's a common scenario. She stops texting for a couple of days after you had what seemed like a good time together. Most guys would start overanalyzing every detail, wondering what went wrong, and even trying to fix the situation by sending more messages or asking for an explanation. But a man who has mastered emotional resilience doesn't fall into this trap. Instead, he accepts the situation for what it is. Maybe she's testing him, or maybe she's just busy. Either way, his reaction remains the same, calm and composed. This doesn't mean you ignore your emotions or pretend you don't care. Emotional resilience is about acknowledging how you feel, but not letting those feelings dictate your actions. If she pulls away, you don't panic. You stay focused on what you can control, your emotional state and your actions. This is where Stoic principles shine, teaching you to let go of what you can't control and focus on mastering your internal world. Another benefit of emotional resilience is that it prevents you from reacting impulsively. Often, when someone is playing games, they're looking for a reaction, whether it's anger, jealousy, or insecurity. But when you respond with calm confidence, you take away their power. Instead of giving them the emotional reaction they expect, you maintain your cool and stay in control. Emotional resilience is about maintaining your inner peace. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you can handle it. By mastering this skill, you make it nearly impossible for anyone to manipulate your emotions. And that's what gives you the upper hand in any relationship. 8. Use humor as a diffuser. When a woman tries to play games with your heart, the last thing she expects is for you to respond with humor. Using humor is one of the smartest tactics you can employ because it diffuses tension and shows that you're in control. Instead of reacting emotionally, which is what she might be hoping for, you choose a lighthearted approach that completely shifts the dynamic. Stoic principles remind us that we shouldn't take everything so seriously, and humor is an excellent way to remain calm and unaffected. Humor shows confidence. When you respond with a joke or a playful comment, it signals that you're not bothered by her behavior, and you're certainly not playing her game. She may try to provoke you with comments or actions, but a witty, humorous response demonstrates emotional maturity and keeps things light. This disarms her because she realizes that her attempt to manipulate you has failed. For example, if she tries to make you jealous by flirting with another guy in front of you, instead of getting upset or confronting her, you can respond with a funny remark like, "Wow, I didn't realize I was this popular tonight. Everyone's fighting for my attention." You're turning the situation around with humor, which shows that you're not taking the bait, and you're secure in yourself. This tactic also helps to avoid unnecessary conflict. When emotions are running high, humor can ease tension and bring both of you back to a more balanced state. It shows that you have the ability to remain composed under pressure, a trait that's incredibly attractive. Stoicism teaches us that laughter and a sense of humor are part of a balanced, peaceful life. By not overreacting to small things, you keep your emotional equilibrium intact. Humor also makes you more unpredictable, which adds to your appeal. She won't know how to get a rise out of you if you're always responding with playful wit instead of anger or frustration. This unpredictability keeps the relationship dynamic interesting, and it shows her that you're not easily manipulated. In the end, humor isn't about ignoring the issue, but about showing that you can handle it without losing your cool. By using humor, you maintain control, keep the mood light, and ultimately show that you won't be dragged into unnecessary drama. That's it. Those are the 8 clever tactics to stop her from playing games with your heart. Each one is grounded in Stoic principles and designed to help you maintain your emotional balance while keeping control of the situation. Remember, it's not about manipulation. It's about mastering yourself, living with purpose, and refusing to let anyone else dictate your emotions. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights on Stoicism and relationships. I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Leave a comment below and tell me which tactic resonated most with you. Are there any situations where you've already applied these strategies? By practicing these techniques, you'll gain confidence, emotional resilience, and the ability to navigate relationships with ease. Thanks for watching, and remember, take control of what's within your power and let go of the rest. See you in the next video.